Bacteria.
Bacteria.
Look, there's bacteria. Bacteria.
Bacteria.
You might not see them, but they're there. Bacteria.
Bacteria.
Everything you touch.
Welcome to Risky or Not,
Bacteria.
a short
Bacteria.
podcast about everyday risks from germs. I'm Professor Ben Chapman from North Carolina State University,
Bacteria.
and I'm joined by my co-host, Dr. Dawn Schaffner from Rutgers University. In this podcast, we promise to do our best not to waffle, dither, dissemble, or equivocate, and to give you straight-up answers about whether something is risky or not. Dawn, today's topic actually comes to me from a hockey teammate of mine, who I will not out or dox here on the show. But I received a text from a friend a while ago. This is actually pre-COVID times, but I was reminded of this when speaking to this teammate recently. And it was a text about making lunches for his kids. And the question, and I'll flip this, but the exact question I got was somewhat out of the blue, because these are the types of texts that you and I both receive. Is it safe to send an unheated hot dog in child's lunch, name redacted? And so the risky or not question that I have for you, Don, is uncooked, unheated hot dog. Open up the hot dog package from your fridge, put it into just a normal bun, put it in a lunchbox, and send it to school with a kid. Is that risky or not?
That's a good question. So I am going very quickly to Combase.
Yeah.
Which is my go-to tool. I'm plugging in Listeria monocytogenes. I am plugging in a temperature of, let's say, 30 degrees Fahrenheit, 30 degrees C, which is warmish room temperature. Very permissive pH, very permissive water activity. And I am seeing in the period of, let's look over the period of 12 hours, just to make it simple. It basically, the organism gets out of lag phase after about 4 hours. You see a 1 log increase. So let's take that time down to 0. You see a 2 log increase by 8 hours, 1 log increase at about 5 hours or so. And again, let's put a little bit of dithering and equivocating here, but let's assume the child is not immunocompromised, right?
Yep. I can confirm.
Can confirm. And yeah, it's fine. That I would say you could probably. I certainly. Here's the thing. If the kid forgets his hot dog at school, I would say don't eat it the next day. But certainly the time from meal preparation until the kid goes to school and eats it, even if he has lunch later in the day, I'm going to say negligible increase in risk. And then the other important thing to think about too is this, and this is true for most deli meats, for most processed deli meats, right? They are often, because of the way these are regulated in the United States, these are often given a post-packaging additional process. And so what people may not know is the way you make hot dogs is you stuff the casings, you cook them in a smokehouse, and then they come out of the smokehouse, they're re-exposed to the processing environment before they go into the packaging, into the 8-pack of hot dogs. But USDA it's to companies' advantage in terms of their Listeria control program if they can show that they have a post-repackage process that will knock down the level of Listeria that might be on the outside of that hot dog. And so either they use an inhibitor, or they use heat, or they use high pressure to basically any Listeria that might have gotten on the outside of the hot dogs, they get rid of that with this additional process. And a lot of companies have opted for that. I believe it's alternative 3 for Listeria control. And so that's going to further assure that the Listeria hot dogs you're getting, the hot dogs you're getting are not Listeria hot dogs. They're the kind without the Listeria, the good kind. Yeah. So I'm gonna say not risky as described.
And yeah, I'm going to agree with you on this. And I think so. Your example of if the kid forgets a hot dog and they try to eat it the next day, I would equate that. I would have that same level of concern if it was a ham sandwich or a turkey sandwich, like that there would be. I don't want my deli meat sitting out of temperature control for a day or 24 hours or 30 hours. But I wouldn't say that the hot dog itself is any more or less risky than that example. Hot dogs are really made to be ready-to-eat products, or at least regulated as a ready-to-eat product. So I would expect that they're held in the manufacturing standpoint to the same process as that ready-to-eat deli meat. So I agree with if this was should I eat a raw hot dog and I'm a pregnant individual, then I think that's risky. Should I eat deli meat, or should I eat a raw hot dog and I'm immunocompromised or an elderly individual? I think that's risky. In this case, I think it's not risky. I think that I would handle it just any other deli meat, unless I'm like totally missing something. Now, I want to add something to this conversation, because in 1998, we actually did have an outbreak of listeriosis linked to hot dogs, and it wasn't a small outbreak. It's 108 individuals in 24 states, caused 14 deaths and 4 miscarriages or stillbirths. So the consequences is really high. But one thing that I really think about is this outbreak happened over 20 years ago. Like the advances, all the stuff that you talked about and how we manage listeria and what we're focused on really came out of that event. Like we, and other listeria linked events in the mid 90s and mid 2000s to get us to where we're a point now that if we did a podcast in 1998, when it was called a radio show on AM radio about risky or not, I think I would have answered differently. But now I don't have any hesitation in setting a hot dog, especially in a lunch container that might be held at ambient temperature for 4 to 6 hours. I think it's not risky.
And what I also want to say, and we'll link to the FDA, USDA Listeria risk assessment for deli meats and delis, where there begins to be a little bit more equivocation is if, like, it's one thing to go to the refrigerated section and buy your name brand hot dogs. It's another thing to go to your supermarket delicatessen and get some sliced deli meat, right? Because now that is in that delicatessen. Again, no shame on grocery store delicatessens, right? But those are potentially riskier products just because of the cross-contamination issues and the fact that they don't come sealed in a package. And again, I understand why you might want to do that. I understand there's packaging trade-offs, right? But from a pure listeria risk, there are some potential issues there. And again, if you want the nitty-gritty details, I encourage you to read the FDA, USDA deli risk assessment, risk model. It's a brilliant, complicated, fascinating model, but it does show that those are, and again, there are things you can do in those operations to manage that risk, but it's different than buying just a prepackaged product.
Absolutely. This has been another episode of Risky or Not. If you have questions for us, you can reach me, Professor Ben Chapman, at Benjamin Chapman on Twitter, or my co-host, Dr. Don Schaffner, at Bug Counter on Twitter, or you can send us questions and feedback on our website, riskyornot.co.
500 million salmonella bacteria.
Thank you for indulging me in that one.
Oh, no, that was a good
They
one.
sound serious.
They are when they're left unchecked, and it could mean a trip to the hospital for someone. Our customers,
Wow.
ourselves,
All right.
our chicken,
All right.
and our reputation.
All right. All right. You mean bacteria on me right now? Clean, and then clean again.
Bacteria.
Bacteria.
Look, there's bacteria. Bacteria.
Bacteria.
You might not see them, but they're there. Bacteria.
Bacteria.
Everything you touch, bacteria.
Bacteria.
That's right. Salmonella bacteria. Salmonella bacteria. Salmonella bacteria.